Okay, hello everyone. Okay, so the next program in chapter 2 is total purchase. Okay, so a customer in a store is purchasing 5 items. Write a program that asks for the price of each item and then displays the subtotal of the sale, the amount of the sales tax, and the total. Assume the sales tax is 7%. Okay, so basically a customer is buying 5 items. So item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4, and 5. So we're going to write a program that's going to ask for the price of each item. So what's the price of the first item? What's the price of the second item? All the way to the 5th item. And then the program is basically going to add them all up together, the price of all of them together, and that's going to be our subtotal. We're going to go ahead and calculate the sales tax, and then we're going to put everything together to calculate the total, right? And they've said that we should assume the sales tax is 7%, okay? All right, so before we even go into the program, 7% is also the same as saying 7 divided by 100, okay? And that's going to be 0.07. So 0.07 is the same as 7%, okay? Sorry. 0.07 is the same as 7%, okay? So once we get there, we'll use it. Okay, so first what we're going to do is it says write a program that asks for the price of each item, and then so we're going to ask for the price of each item. Okay, so first let's start with the first item. We're going to use the input function. I'm going to ask for the price of the first item. So please enter the price of the first item. Okay. Once we do that, the user is going to type in something. Anytime you use the input function, whatever the user types, it's stored and returned as a string. Okay, so we need to first convert whatever the user typed. Even though the user types in a number, as long as you're using the input function, it's going to take that number, but it's going to store it as a string. It's going to return it as a string, but we don't want to use the string. We don't want to use that string that this input function is returning. We don't want to use that thing that the user typed, converted to a string. We don't want that. We want to convert what the user has typed, which has been converted to a string by the input function. We want to convert all of that. Okay. let me not confuse you. Whatever the user types using the input function, even if the user types in a number, is going to be stored and returned as a string. So we need to convert it to a number so we can use it in the calculation. Okay, so sorry about all the long talk. all I'm trying to say is we need to convert whatever the user types, even though the user typed in a number. We need to convert it to a number so we can use it, because the input function takes whatever the user types, even if it's a number, and convert it to a string. So before we can use it, we need to convert it to a number. Okay. Sorry for all the long talk, but I just wanted it to be clear, as always. Sorry. Okay, so when the user types in the first item, we need to go ahead and convert everything that the user has typed into a number. In this case, a float, because the user can type in the price of the first item as $2.75, so 2.775. All right. So we're converting it to a float. Let me space this out so we can see it. So I'm surrounding everything that the user has typed here with parentheses and converting it to a float. Once we do that, that's the price of the first item. So we need to go ahead and store it in a variable called item 1. Item 1, okay? So now we have the price of the first item. Now we can go ahead and repeat this for all 5 items. So I'm going to go ahead and paste this 5 times and just change a few things. So this is going to be the second item, item 2, item 3, item 4, and item 5. And we're going to change a few things here. So this is enter the price of the first item, enter the price of the second item. Oh, my typing is not good, I'm sorry. Enter the price of the third item, enter the price of the fourth item, and the fifth item. Okay, so now by the time all this runs, we will have the price of all of the items. Okay, So now the program wants us to, after we've accepted the price of the first all 5 items by the user, now we can go ahead and the program wants us to calculate the subtotal, and the subtotal is basically the price of all of the items added up. Okay, so no tax, nothing has been added. It's just the prices of them added together. So I'm going to go ahead and create a variable which is a subtotal, and that's going to be equal to item 1 plus item 2 plus item 3 plus item 4 and plus item 5, and that's going to be the subtotal. Okay, now the program wants us to go ahead and calculate the amount of sales tax, which is here, the amount of sales tax. Sorry for the cough. Okay, so the amount of sales tax, the program has said, assume the sales tax is 7%. Okay, so it's 7% of the subtotal. All right, that's going to be how much tax the person is going to pay. So over here we said that 7% is the same as 7 divided by 100, which gives us 0.07. So I'm going to go ahead and create a variable which is the tax, and the tax is going to be 7%, which is the same as 0.07. Okay, off times, okay, time, you can read the times the multiplication sign as the off, okay, in English. So 7%, okay, all the 0.07 off. All right, so 7% off subtotal. Okay, you can read the multiplication sign as off, so 7% off subtotal, and that's our tax. All right, and the program wants us to go ahead and also calculate the total and the total. So total now is going to be equal to subtotal plus tax. Okay, we've already calculated that, so total is going to be equal to subtotal plus the tax. And now we have everything. We have our subtotal, we have the tax, and we have the total. So we can now go ahead and display it. Oops. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so we can now go ahead and display it. So the first thing I'm going to display is a string that says subtotal. That's going to be the first thing. So subtotal, subtotal, I'm going to put a colon, and I'm going to concatenate it with the subtotal variable, but I'm going to go ahead and format it so that we display a dollar amount with dollar signs and commas and everything. The reason why I'm concatenating it with the formatted version of subtotal is because this format function returns a string. So you can go ahead and the program can go ahead and concatenate the string that's returned from this format function. Okay, and then to this string over here. It does that in an implicit manner, so it can do that because this output is this format function returns a string. The program can go ahead and concatenate it to this string. Okay, and it does that in an implicit way, so it can do that. But if you're trying to just concatenate the double variable, just the subtotal, not formatted, just the subtotal to this string, then the program will complain that it can't do that in an implicit manner. Okay, it can't do that implicitly. Okay, so once I have done that, I need to format it. Okay, the argument that I'm formatting, let me space this out. The arguments that I'm formatting is subtotal, and next argument is how I want it, the format specifier. So let me just space this out some more so it looks good. So I'm formatting subtotal, and I want it because it's a float. Okay, I want it formatted as a float. So I'm going to put the letter F as a float, and I want it formatted to 2 decimal places. Sorry, I want it formatted to 2 decimal places, and I want commas where necessary. I want if it's a dollar amount, if it's 5,000, I want to see a comma after the 5 and then 000. So it's going to do that automatically as long as you put the comma before the precision, before the 0.2, the precision, which is the number of decimal places, and before the F, okay, for float, the type. And I also want a dollar sign in front of it, so I'll go ahead and I'll put it here. So it's going to concatenate a dollar sign with the output here. Okay, so that's going to be our first item passed as an argument into the print function. Okay, the second argument is now going to be the after we've displayed the subtotal, it's going to be the tax. Okay, so I'm going to type in tax amount. I'm going to put a colon. Okay, and I'm going to put a dollar sign. So tax amount colon dollar sign. Again, I'm going to go ahead and concatenate it with the formatted version of. Okay, now I realized that before I put the formatted version, I realized that we're going to exceed this line here. And this line is basically a guide to help us not type too many characters on a line, which is like a soft rule for Python. So I don't want to exceed this line. So I don't want to exceed 80 characters on a line. So I'm basically going to break this line onto another line and continue from there. So I'm going to concatenate this string here with something. But before I do that, I want to break this line. Before you break any line in Python, you use the backslash, and you can go ahead and break it. Okay, so now I've broken it. I was concatenating this string tax amount to the variable tax here. Okay, tax. Oops, let me not confuse you. I need to take all those hints and all that. I don't really like it. All right. Sorry. I'll try and figure out where they all are, and I'll take them out. So I'm concatenating the tax amount string, this string over here, to the tax variable, which is this one here. Okay. All right, but I want it formatted, because if I try to just leave it this way, concatenating the string to the tax variable, it's going to complain that it can't it can't in an implicit way convert this float to a string. Okay, it will complain. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and format the tax amount, and that's what I'm formatting. So that's the first argument in the format function. The second argument is how I want it, just like this. Okay, this is the format specifier, how I want it. And I want it first, the tax is also a text amount is also a float, because it could be a decimal. So because it's a float, I'm going to put an F. I want it formatted to 2 decimal places, and I want commas where necessary. Okay, so now I'm done with the second argument passed into the print function, and the third argument is going to be the total. So I'm going to just create another string, and inside that string double quote is going to be total. I'm going to type in a dollar sign, and I'm going to concatenate that with the formatted version of total. Okay, and I want it, this is a format specifier, so that's the first argument in the format function. That's what I'm formatting, and I want it formatted this way. This is the format specifier. That's my second argument in the format function. Okay, so again, I want it formatted to 2 decimal places as a float, because the total again could be a dollar amount. Not a dollar amount, but a money amount, like $25.25. So because it has a decimal, it's a float. And I want commas where necessary. Okay, I've already put the dollar sign here. Okay, so now we are done formatting. So let's first, we're done. Let's just see how it's displayed. So I'm going to go ahead and debug it, and I need to save this file. So I'm going to go to the desktop. I created a folder for this, Python chapter 2, and I'm going to create a folder just for this one. I'll call it total purchases. Oh, no, total purchase, and I'll create this as total purchase.py. Sorry for the cough. Okay, total purchase.py, and I'll save it. Okay, so please enter the price of the first item. Let me go ahead and put colons here, so it looks good. Okay, so I'll stop it and debug it again. First item, I'm going to type in $1. Second item, $2. Third item, $3. Fourth item, $4. And fifth item is $5. Sorry. So I'm expecting the subtotal to be. First, let me run it. Okay, let me run it, and then we'll see. I'm going to hit enter. Okay, so it says the subtotal is $15. So see, 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10, and 10 plus 5 is 15. Now the tax amount is, remember, 7% of the $15, which is $1.05, and the total is $16.05 because it added the tax amount, which is $1.05, to the $15, which gave you $16.05. Right? See the way it's displayed? It's displayed horizontally. I don't want that. It's not nice. I mean, you can leave it this way, but I want to display it vertically. And because we've passed in different arguments, separate arguments into the print function, that's why it's displaying that way. Because by default, the separator for all the individual, oops, let me just turn this, exit this, quit this. Okay, so the separator for each argument you pass into the print function by default is separated by a space. So we can go ahead, so you can see over here that this is the first space that separates the subtotal and the amount that separates the subtotal and the tax amount. Okay, and this is the second space that separates the tax amount and the total. By default, the individual arguments you pass into the print function is separated by a space. So we can go ahead and overwrite that space and change it to something else. In this case, I want to change it to a new line character, so that after each item, okay, everywhere you see, because this whole argument is one item. Okay, sorry, not that. This whole argument is one item, and there's a comma here, and this whole argument is another item, and there's a comma here, and this is the last item. So I have 3 items, all separated by a space. I want to change that, and I do that first with a comma here. So I'm going to pass in one more argument into the print function, and that's going to be the separator. So the separator, SEP, I'm going to change it from a space by default to a new line character, and a new line character, you use a \n. Okay, so notice that I crossed this line. I'm sorry. Notice that I crossed this line, and I don't want that. I don't want to cross that line because I want to try to keep 80 characters on a line. So over here, before I type in this, I'm going to concatenate. I don't even have to. I don't have to concatenate it. I can just, before you break any line, you remember like we did here, you need to type in the \. And I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. So I'm just continuing. Okay. All right. So the separator now, I'm changing it from a space by default to a new line character, and the \n together is the new line character. Okay, so let's go ahead and debug it one more time, and I'm going to do this again. I'm going to now enter 1 1 1 1 1. So I'm expecting $5 as my subtotal. Okay, so now subtotal is $5, tax amount is 35 cents, and total is now $5.35. Okay, 35 cents has been added to the subtotal to give me the total, and this is just tax. Okay, and now you can see that each argument, okay, this is the first one, second one, and third one. Each argument passed into the print function has been separated by the new line character. This is just to say that we are changing the default separator, which is a space, to a new line character. And you can see each argument has been separated by a new line character, and that's why it's displayed on a new line. Okay, if you don't want even this whole block joining this too much, you can start this whole string with a new line character, which is \n. So both of them together is a new line character. Okay, once the compiler sees this two together, it doesn't print it. It doesn't display it in our output. It just says, hey, okay. It just knows that this means break whatever comes after the new line character on a new line. Okay, that's what it does. So I just don't want this, getting, mashing up or getting too close with this, with the questions. I hope you get me. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and debug it. I'm going to try it again. 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, and you can see down this now, because we used the new line character. It jumped. It moved. It created it moved this to a new line once it saw this. Okay, so the subtotal is $6. Tax amount is 42 cents. Total is $6.42. Okay, so we are done. All right, so if you have any questions, as always, please comment down below, and I'll do everything to reply to them and answer them. Try to answer them. And if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time with the next program. And take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.